Today's topic is cultural adaptability. Are you culturally adaptable? Recently, we conducted research with leaders to find out how global we've really become. And what we found after talking to and surveying over 100 business leaders and executives in the US is that currently 25 to 30% of business is already foreign or non-US. And that is expected to increase by 7% in the next 3 to 5 years. So we are now truly living in a global interconnected world. And when we asked what the biggest challenges were with globalization, the number one issue that arose was the need to adapt, both to change as well as to culture. The good news here for you as a leader is that yes, you can become more culturally adaptable. So what is cultural adaptability? It is the ability to adapt, respond, and work effectively with those who come from a different set of backgrounds and perspectives than those of your own. Those things are driven by a set of underlying beliefs, motivations, experiences, values, and systems that drive that behavior. And so culture can be defined both in a corporate setting as well as ethnic. For this very, very brief newsletter, we're going to talk a little bit about ethnic culture, even though we recognize there are lots of similarities between the two. And so as we talk about that, our ultimate goal is to become culturally proficient, which is the ability to intentionally integrate both the similarities and the cultural differences. So let's start by talking about 4 myths and try to debunk those myths. Myth number 1. Being bicultural equals being culturally adaptable. So I am actually a bicultural person, Korean American, which means that I have the ability to understand some elements of 2 different cultures. But does that mean that I understand the underlying systems and beliefs of what makes me Korean and what makes me American? What does it even mean to be a US American? What are the frames and systems that I use to drive that identity? And so while being bicultural may allow you to understand cultures and foods and traditions, it does not necessarily translate into understanding other cultures and therefore be culturally adaptable. Myth number 2. I've never lived in another country, therefore it's harder for me to be culturally adaptable. Yes, it's absolutely true that it's a powerful way to become culturally adaptable, to be fully immersed in a culture and live it, breathe it every single day. However, it's not required. Some of the most culturally not adaptable people I've ever met were actually foreigners living in another country. These are the people who say, I don't understand why things are not done the right way. What is the right way? So the good news for you, if you don't have the opportunity to jump and live in a different country today, is that these are a set of skills that actually can be developed and gained over time. Myth number 3. Speaking multiple languages equals being culturally adaptable. First of all, if you speak multiple languages, bravo. I think that's wonderful. And language actually is a very, very important part of being culturally adaptable. A lot of underlying beliefs actually are embedded in language and values. So for example, in French and in many European languages, you're obligated to share the gender of your friend. You can't just say my friend. It has to be female or male. And so what does that say about the underlying values that may be different from your own in the language? But what happens if you're not multilingual? Does that mean that you can't understand different cultures? I've had the pleasure of working with many different people who understand the underlying systems and the dimensions of culture that actually describe cultural people groups. So it enables them to work very, very effectively and powerful, even if they don't speak the language. Language absolutely does help, but it's not the end all. We have, in a very brief amount of time, only touched on the subject. There's so much more to explore. So if you're interested in this topic and becoming more culturally adaptable, we invite you to join our webinar on October 14th, where we'll explore this topic further. And we'll talk specifically about the journey of becoming more culturally adaptable. And what are some of these dimensions that I talked about that describe culture to help start raising your own awareness and knowledge base to becoming more adaptable. We hope to see you there.